Amanda made me believe I was her best friend at work until she handed out wedding invites to the entire office and skipped me. I smiled when she said it was a small list, but inside, I was dying. 2 weeks later, I caught her, in lingerie, sitting on the lap of our married CEO after hours, drinking scotch like she owned the place. The same CEO she was using for cheap thrills while planning to abandon her fiancé 3 days after marrying him. And that's when I knew. This wasn't about a missed invitation. This was about revenge. I found out I was the only person not invited to Amanda's wedding during the Monday morning meeting. It was just after 9:15. People were still yawning and clutching their sad office coffee when Barry from HR said, "Big congrats to Amanda, only 2 weeks till the big day." The conference room on the 15th floor of Harbor Point Tower buzzed with Monday morning energy. Claps erupted around the mahogany table with genuine cheers. "Can't wait for the open bar," called out Jessica from accounts. That's when they started passing around those little square invitation envelopes with gold foil lettering. Each bore Amanda's flowing script and looked ceremonial, important. I watched them circulate like a game of musical chairs. Terry from shipping grinned. Sarah squealed and photographed hers for Instagram. Dennis from IT clutched his like a golden ticket. I tracked the envelope as it made its way around the table, waiting for my invitation. Amanda and I had been workwives for 3 years. We'd weathered quarterly reviews together, shared countless lunches at Philip's Seafood down by the harbor. But the stack grew thinner, chair by chair, person by person, until there were no more envelopes left. Everyone got one. Everyone except me. The meeting continued in a blur, but I felt underwater, sounds muffled and distant. My chest tightened with that familiar childhood sensation. 7th grade slumber parties where I was somehow forgotten. When Barry dismissed us, I lingered, waiting for the room to empty. Amanda gathered her things with practiced efficiency, laptop snapped shut, Kate Spade planner tucked under her arm. "Hey, did mine get lost or something?" I asked, voice smaller than intended. Amanda looked up from her phone where she'd been scrolling through floral arrangements. Her clear blue eyes met mine without a flicker of discomfort. "Oh." She tilted her head with practiced regret. "I had to keep the list really small. Just close friends, you know?" I smiled because that's what you do. You smile and pretend your heart isn't cracking. Of course, I totally understand. But inside felt like someone had reached into my chest and squeezed until I couldn't breathe. I'm Natalie Richardson, live in a converted warehouse loft and work as senior financial analyst at Meridian Logistics. Our office is on Harbor Point Tower's 15th floor, with views of the Francis Scott Key Bridge. Dependable, precise. I was the unofficial fix-it person for any financial crisis crossing CEO Greg Harmon's desk. Numbers don't lie, and I knew mine like they were encoded in my DNA. Amanda Fields had joined 3 years ago, blonde, bubbly, hired directly into the business development role I'd quietly hoped would open internally. She waltzed in with her University of Maryland MBA, practiced smile and perfect wardrobe. She was everything I wasn't, charming where I was efficient, magnetic where I was reliable. She had a way of making mistakes seem endearing, somehow turning her scattered organization into a refreshing personality trait. "Oh my God, Natalie," she'd say, perched on my desk in designer heels. "I totally mixed up the Johnson & Williams accounts again. Can you work your magic before Greg notices?" And I would. Every time. Because despite her chaos, Amanda made me feel needed, important. She used to tell me I was her anchor at work. "Your brain must be like a beautiful filing cabinet," she'd marvel. I used to believe that meant something. The walk back to my desk felt awful. People talked around me about Amanda's wedding, weekend plans, rides, what to wear. I sat down and stared at my computer screens. Work reports looked like nothing but numbers. 3 years of being her helper, her fix-it person when things went wrong. I brought her soup when she was sick. I stayed until midnight fixing her work reports while she posted photos online. When her mom got sick, I did her job for 2 weeks. I dealt with confused clients and never said anything bad. She called me her work wife in front of the big bosses. "Natalie keeps me sane," she said. I thought she really meant it. But it was just a lie with her fake smile. Work wife? What a joke. I was her servant, her safety net. I held up her career while she got all the good jobs and party invites that I earned for both of us. And now? Now she's moving up and I'm just old office furniture she can throw away. 3 years of "you're my anchor" and "your brain is amazing." Nice words to keep me working hard. I was used up and thrown out the second I wasn't useful to Amanda's perfect life. I guess I kept her sane just long enough for her to forget about me. After the invitation snub, everything shifted like pressure before a storm. The change was subtle, conversations ending when I approached, lunch plans becoming client meetings, text messages receiving terse responses hours later. Gone were casual desk visits, shared eye rolls during Greg's rambling speeches, whispered commentary during boring presentations. Amanda treated me like furniture, present but invisible, functional but forgettable. 2 weeks dragged by. 2 weeks of watching Amanda hold court at lunch tables I wasn't invited to join, hearing secondhand about bridal shower plans I was conspicuously absent from. The isolation felt like physical weight. Then came Friday, October 13th. I'd stayed late finishing quarterly reconciliation Greg needed Monday morning. The office had emptied around 6, leaving behind usual Friday detritus. Abandoned coffee cups, forgotten jackets, lingering Thai food scent. Around 7:15, I heard laughter from the executive conference room, the mahogany table room with panoramic harbor views Greg used for impressing clients. Bright, intimate laughter that didn't belong in after-hours quiet. Curiosity got the better of me. I crept toward the conference room, heart hammering for reasons I couldn't name. Through barely cracked blinds, I could see inside. My world tilted off its axis. Amanda, getting married in 8 days, was perched on Greg Harmon's lap like she belonged there. Her silk blouse unbuttoned, revealing lacy black lingerie, definitely not standard office attire. His tie hung loose, wedding ring catching light as his hands roamed her bare waist. They shared expensive Macallan 18 from Greg's locked credenza, giggling like teenagers who'd raided parents' liquor. Amanda's head thrown back in laughter at something he'd whispered. Engagement ring glinting as she ran fingers through his graying hair. The sight hit me like a physical blow to the stomach. My breath caught in my throat, not just a gasp, but a strangled sound that came from somewhere deep and primal. Heat flooded my face, rage, humiliation, disbelief all crashing together in a nauseating wave. What the actual heck? My hands started shaking immediately, not just trembling, violent, uncontrollable shaking that made me press my palms against the wall to steady myself. The betrayal felt like acid in my veins. This woman, this person I'd trusted, defended, covered for, was wrapped around our married boss like some cheap office cliché. And Ethan, sweet, devoted Ethan, who was probably at home right now, maybe picking up his tuxedo or calling the florist about last-minute details. My stomach lurched so violently I thought I might actually vomit right there in the hallway. Should I burst in? Should I scream at them? Should I grab my phone and start recording? Part of me wanted to storm in there and tear them apart with my bare hands. The rage was so intense it felt like electricity under my skin. I wanted to grab Amanda by her perfectly styled hair and ask her how she could look at herself in the mirror. I wanted to throw Greg's expensive scotch in his smug face and ask him how his wife of 23 years would feel about this. But another part of me, the shocked, devastated part, just wanted to run, to pretend I'd never seen this, never had to carry this knowledge. Because once you see something like this, you can't unsee it. You can't unknow it. 3 years. 3 whole years I've been covering for her, believing in her, thinking we were friends. The professional, people-pleasing part of my brain was screaming warnings. Don't make a scene. This isn't your business. Walk away. Stay out of it. But the human part of me was absolutely demolished. This wasn't just about the wedding invitation anymore, though that humiliation felt like a paper cut compared to this gaping wound. This was about discovering that someone I'd trusted implicitly was a complete fraud, that every moment of our friendship had been built on lies, that while I was bringing her soup and covering her work, she was playing games that could destroy multiple lives. My legs felt like they might give out. I pressed my back against the wall, sliding down slightly as the full magnitude of what I was witnessing sank in. The casual way they touched each other suggested this wasn't a one-time mistake. This was routine, established, ongoing. How long? How long has this been happening while I've been the loyal little worker bee, thinking she actually cared about me? And Greg? God, Greg made my skin crawl on a good day. But this was a whole new level of disgusting. 51 years old, married for over 2 decades, groping a subordinate in the office like some perverted teenager. The rational part of my brain tried to kick in. Get evidence, take photos, document this. But my hands were shaking so badly I could barely hold my phone, let alone operate it quietly. What do I do? What the hell do I do with this? The worst part was the laughing. They were having fun. This wasn't some moment of weakness or a mistake they'd regret. They were enjoying themselves while planning to destroy Ethan's entire world. I stumbled backward from the window, my heart hammering so hard I could hear it in my ears. Every instinct was at war. Fight or flight, anger or self-preservation, loyalty to Ethan versus fear of the consequences. But one thing was crystal clear through the chaos in my head. Amanda had just shown me exactly who she really was, and I would never, ever forget it. I wrestled with what I'd witnessed all weekend. Should I confront Amanda? Warn Ethan? Go to HR? By Monday, I'd decided on the direct approach. Maybe there was an explanation. Maybe Amanda would come clean herself. I found her in the break room around 10, scrolling through her phone by the coffee machine in a navy blazer probably costing more than my car payment. Can we talk? I asked, keeping my voice low. Amanda looked up with practiced annoyance. About what? You not getting invited? Seriously, Natalie, get over it. That's not what I want to talk about. I steadied myself. I saw you Friday night in the conference room with Greg. For a split second, something flickered across her face. Fear, maybe, or calculation. Gone so quickly I might have imagined it. She laughed, bright and careless. Saw me what? Working late? God, Natalie, you really need to get a life. That's not what you were doing, wasn't it? She looked at me directly, something hard in her blue eyes. Because from where I'm standing, you're a bitter, pathetic woman so desperate for drama you're making up stories. Amanda, I know what I saw. You know nothing. She leaned closer, voice dropping to threatening whisper. You're jealous because your life is so sad and empty you have to live vicariously through mine. People like me get invited to weddings and corner offices. People like you file spreadsheets alone on Fridays and make up fantasies to feel important. The words hit like physical blows. Wow. Okay. Here's free advice, she continued, smile sharp as broken glass. If you even think about spreading rumors, I'll make sure everyone knows exactly what you are. Petty, jealous, desperate for attention. Stay away from my wedding, you're not welcome there either. I stood in the empty break room long after she left, hands shaking with rage and humiliation. The casual cruelty, the way she dismissed not just my concerns, but my entire existence. She was right about one thing. I was forgettable. But she was wrong about something else. She thought she was untouchable, that charm and connections would shield her from consequences. Amanda had made a crucial mistake. She'd underestimated the quiet ones. Amanda was charismatic and ruthless, but careless with details. During a client presentation 6 months ago, she'd frantically tried logging into shared drives while Patterson Industries executives waited. Sunflower 22, she'd muttered, then louder. I use the same password for everything because I'm hopeless with technology. Everyone had laughed. I'd made a mental note about password security, then forgotten until now. Monday night, sitting in my apartment with takeout containers and harbor lights twinkling beyond my windows, I remembered that moment with startling clarity. Sunflower 22. Her favorite flower and birth year. Simple, predictable. What I did next was illegal, immoral. A privacy violation that could have cost my job or landed me in jail. But I don't regret it. I navigated to our company's cloud storage, tried Amanda's login with the remembered password. Access denied, but Meridian used single sign-on with Office 365, Sunflower 22. The screen loaded. Suddenly I was looking at Amanda's entire digital life. Emails, OneDrive, calendar, everything she'd assumed was private. Her OneDrive was organized with typical haphazard efficiency, random folders, scattered files, important documents mixed with Pinterest screenshots. 20 minutes searching, I found it. Buried among project files and wedding Canva mock-ups was a folder labeled Freedom. Inside were venue contracts, catering menus, guest lists, but at the bottom, almost hidden, were documents that made my blood run cold. First, screenshots from our conference room. Amanda draped across Greg's lap, both shirtless, her head thrown back as he nuzzled her neck. Timestamps from multiple dates over 3 months, captions like CEO benefits and what Ethan doesn't know won't hurt him. Second, a complex travel itinerary that made my stomach drop. Emirates flight to Dubai, then connecting flights to Toronto. Apartment lease agreement in Toronto's financial district. Work visa documentation. Employment contract with McKinsey & Company Canada starting November 1st. And a lease termination notice for her Baltimore apartment, dated effective October 15th, 6 days before the wedding. 3 days after her wedding to Ethan Morrison, Amanda planned to disappear forever. But most damning were her personal journal entries, saved as Word documents with brutally honest titles like Why I'm Going Through with This Charade and Final Exit Strategy. I opened the first one, dated 6 weeks ago. I can't call off this wedding. The embarrassment would kill me. Mom's already told half of Baltimore about the Linganore venue, and Ethan's parents flew in from Oregon twice for planning meetings. The deposits alone are $18,000. Everyone would think I'm a flake, or worse, that something's wrong with me. But I can't spend my life in Baltimore either. Ethan's sweet, but so ordinary. His idea of adventure is trying a new hiking trail. Greg makes me feel alive for now, but he's just a temporary thrill. I'm not trading one boring relationship for another complicated one with a married man 20 years older. The plan is perfect. Get through the ceremony, smile for photos, let everyone think it's this beautiful fairy tale. Then Monday morning, I disappear to Dubai for a few days before flying to Toronto. Fresh start, new country, new life. The job at McKinsey starts November 1st. I've been interviewing secretly for months. By the time anyone realizes I'm not coming back, I'll be established in Canada with a new identity, new career, new everything. I'm 29, too young to be trapped by decisions I made when I was young and stupid. The second document was even more chilling. I've already moved everything that matters to a storage unit. Ethan thinks I'm just organizing for after the honeymoon. The apartment lease is terminated. I've been slowly transferring money to offshore accounts he doesn't know about. I'll leave a letter explaining that I need to find myself and asking him not to look for me. That should keep him from calling police for at least a week, maybe 2. By then, I'll be legally working in Canada under my maiden name. Ethan deserves better than me, but he'll get over it. People always do. Greg will probably be upset when he realizes I was never serious, but honestly, he should have known better. I was never going to be his midlife crisis escape plan. This way, everyone keeps their dignity. No messy breakups, no public humiliation. They'll think I had some kind of breakdown and ran away to find myself. Very 2023. Much better than the truth. A third document was titled Draft Letter, Do Not Send Yet, dated just 3 days ago. Dear Ethan, by the time you read this, I'll be gone. I know this seems sudden, but I've been struggling with who I am and what I want for months. The wedding was beautiful, and you are a wonderful man, but I realize I'm not ready for marriage or the life we plan together. I need time to figure out who I am outside of other people's expectations. Please don't try to find me. I need space to heal and grow. You deserve someone who can love you completely, and right now, that isn't me. I'm sorry for any pain this causes. Take care of yourself. Amanda. She was planning to vanish completely, leaving behind a fake breakdown story while starting a new life in another country. This wasn't just abandonment. It was calculated psychological warfare designed to make Ethan question reality itself. This wasn't just an affair. Amanda was planning to marry Ethan, accept his vows and devotion, then disappear 3 days later. Complete psychological demolition of everyone who trusted her. Not for love, not even for money, but for the sheer convenience of avoiding difficult conversations. She was treating 2 men's hearts like disposable entertainment. I scrolled through email chains between Amanda and Greg, painting a picture of his delusion. Messages about stolen conference room moments, complaints about their respective partners, plans for when we're finally together. Greg had written, "Can't wait until after Saturday. We can stop hiding, stop pretending. Patricia won't fight the divorce once she knows about us." Amanda had responded, "Patience, babe. Just need to get through this week, then everything changes." She was letting him believe they had a future while planning to ghost him completely. I found hotel receipts Greg had expensed as client meetings, restaurant charges Amanda had claimed for wedding planning dinners. They'd been stealing from the company to fund their affair while Amanda secretly prepared for permanent escape. Most damning was a voice memo Amanda had sent to herself 5 days ago, probably while drunk. "God, I can't wait for this to be over. Ethan keeps talking about our future together, and I just want to scream. 3 more days of pretending, then I'm free forever. The Toronto job is going to be amazing, finally working with people who get it, who understand ambition. Ethan will probably cry when he reads my letter, but honestly, he'll thank me later. I'm saving him from a lifetime with someone who doesn't love him. Greg will figure out I was never serious about him either. I refuse to spend my 20s trapped by decisions I made when I was young and stupid. She paused, then continued with chilling casualness. The storage unit has everything I actually care about. The apartment's already cleaned out. Told Ethan I was organizing for after the honeymoon. By the time anyone realizes I'm never coming back, I'll be in Canada with a new life, new identity, new everything, clean slate. Complete psychological demolition. She wasn't just abandoning them, she was erasing herself entirely, leaving them to wonder if she'd ever existed at all. But Amanda had made one crucial mistake. She'd documented everything, treating other people's pain like a personal journal entry. Now, for the first time since this nightmare began, I held all the cards. Ethan Morrison deserved to know, but Amanda would try spinning any revelation, making herself the victim. She was a master at deflecting blame with tears and charm. I needed undeniable evidence that couldn't be dismissed. I spent Tuesday night methodically copying files. Canadian work visa, Toronto apartment lease, journal entries revealing her complete escape plan, documents dating back 6 months, showing elaborate preparation for permanent disappearance, photos I hadn't seen before, hotel bathroom selfies, champagne toasts at restaurants I recognized from Amanda's client dinner expenses, screenshots of Greg's pathetic messages about leaving his wife, paired with Amanda's cynical responses about managing expectations until I'm gone. Most damning were her moving company receipts and storage unit rental agreement. She'd been systematically relocating her belongings for weeks while letting Ethan plan their future together. The draft goodbye letter was particularly cruel, designed to make Ethan think she'd had some kind of mental breakdown rather than revealing her calculated deception. I uploaded everything to secure cloud service, burned files onto multiple flash drives, created throwaway Gmail account, and began crafting the message that would change everything. But sending evidence to Ethan wasn't enough. Amanda had humiliated me publicly. If I was exposing her, I wanted the revelation equally public, equally devastating. The wedding was Saturday at Linganore Wine Cellars in Mount Airy. Amanda had spent months planning every detail. Custom florals, hand-lettered signage, perfect venue with rolling vineyard views. Friday evening, I drove to Mount Airy with a trunk full of carefully wrapped packages. Each contained Dubai itinerary copies and damning journal excerpts, with cards reading, "From the Meridian team, best wishes," in Amanda's elegant script style. I placed them strategically throughout the gift table, mixed with legitimate presents. Some labeled from specific departments, others unmarked to blend with wrapped boxes and envelopes. My masterpiece was the package addressed directly to Ethan. Inside, flash drive containing every piece of evidence, plus a letter I'd spent hours crafting. Ethan, I'm sorry you have to learn this on what should be the happiest day of your life, but you deserve truth before making a commitment you can't take back. The woman you're about to marry has been having an affair with our CEO for 3 months. But that's not the worst part. She's planning to abandon you forever. She has a new job in Canada, has already canceled her lease, and moved her belongings to storage. She was never planning to come back from her honeymoon. She's been documenting everything, treating your love like a temporary inconvenience before her real life begins. The evidence is on this drive, including the goodbye letter she planned to leave you. You deserve someone who will actually love you. A friend. I mailed it to his workplace Thursday, timed so he'd receive it Friday. Close enough to prevent him marrying Amanda under false pretenses, not so early she'd have time to manipulate or disappear. Then I waited. I wasn't at the wedding, but in the age of social media and office gossip, information travels fast. First text came from Jessica at 4:23 p.m. Saturday. OMG, did you hear what happened at Amanda's wedding? Call me now. Then Sarah. Holy shit, Natalie, you're not going to believe this. Amanda's wedding imploded. It absolutely imploded. By Sunday morning, I had 17 missed calls and 43 texts from coworkers wanting to share details of what was being called the wedding disaster of the century. Ethan had received my package Friday afternoon. According to Terry, who knew Ethan through gym connections, he'd spent Friday night going through every piece of evidence, reading Amanda's journal entries about treating their marriage like a temporary inconvenience. Instead of confronting Amanda or calling off the wedding, he'd made a different choice. He'd decided to let her have her perfect day. Beautiful venue, designer dress, unsuspecting guests, before revealing her plan to vanish forever. Saturday dawned crisp and clear, perfect October weather. Amanda posted Instagram stories from her bridal suite, glowing in Vera Wang gown, surrounded by bridesmaids in dusty rose silk. Everything looked exactly as planned, elegant, sophisticated, flawless. In her final Instagram story, she'd written, "Last morning as Amanda Morrison-to-be. Can't wait to start this new chapter." The irony was devastating. She was about to start a new chapter, just not the one anyone expected. Everything proceeded normally through the processional. Amanda's father walked her down the aisle to Canon and D, her smile radiant, approaching the altar where Ethan waited in midnight blue tuxedo. The officiant began traditional ceremony. They'd written their own vows, which Amanda delivered with tears streaming, promising to love and honor Ethan for life. Then Ethan's turn. Instead of pulling out folded vow papers, he reached into his jacket and withdrew the flash drive. Small, black, innocuous looking. "Amanda," he said, voice carrying clearly across silent vineyard, "before I make these vows, I think our guests should know who you really are." He handed her the drive. "You can explain this to your real travel partner. Oh wait, you're going alone, aren't you?" Confusion was immediate and electric. Amanda stared at the drive like a live grenade, face cycling through confusion, recognition, terror. Guests began murmuring, heads turning. "Why don't you tell them about Toronto?" he suggested conversationally. "Or should I read them your journal entries about what a temporary inconvenience our marriage is?" Amanda went white as her dress. Real chaos began when Great Aunt Helen, known for inability to mind her own business, investigated the gift table during confusion. She opened one of my strategically placed packages, found Amanda's printed journal entries. "Oh my God," she announced, holding up pages. "Amanda has a job in Canada. She was never planning to come back." Another guest grabbed a different package containing the lease termination notice and storage unit receipts. Within minutes, printouts were being passed through the crowd like scandalous newspapers, guests reading about Amanda's complete escape plan in her own words while she stood frozen at the altar. "I can explain," Amanda managed, voice shaking. "This isn't what it looks like." "Explain what?" Ethan's voice was steady but deadly. "Explain how you've been doing with our CEO for 3 months? Explain how you called our marriage a temporary inconvenience? Explain how you've already moved to Canada and plan to disappear forever after our wedding?" The vineyard fell into stunned silence. Amanda's maid of honor, Sister Claire, stepped forward with murder in her eyes. "You were planning to disappear forever?" "Claire, please! You have a job in Canada? You've already moved your stuff?" Claire's voice rose to a shriek. "You were going to let us think you'd vanished or died?" The slap echoed across the vineyard like a gunshot. Claire's palm connected with such force Amanda stumbled backward, veil catching on altar decorations. "What kind of monster are you?" Claire screamed. "Mom and Dad would have called the FBI. We would have thought you were kidnapped or murdered." That's when real chaos erupted. Greg's wife Patricia came charging through guests like an avenging angel, having read email printouts about her husband's commentary on their boring marriage. "Where is he?" she screamed, silver hair wild. "Where is my lying, cheating husband?" Greg, trying to blend into the crowd, made the mistake of moving. Patricia spotted him immediately and launched herself forward, small fists swinging. 23 years, she shrieked, connecting with his solar plexus. "I gave you 23 years. She grabbed champagne bottle and began chasing Greg around reception area while guests scattered. Meanwhile, Amanda stood at the altar, perfect makeup streaming in black rivulets. "Ethan, please," she sobbed. "We can work through this." "Work through what?" Ethan's laugh was bitter. "Your affair? Your plan to fake your own disappearance? The fact that you've already started a new life in Canada while pretending to build one with me?" He started walking away, then turned back. "You know what the sickest part is? You were going to let me think you were dead or kidnapped. You were going to let me blame myself for the rest of my life." "But I left you a letter," she protested desperately. "A letter designed to make me think you'd had a mental breakdown." His voice cracked with pain. "You wanted me to think I'd driven you insane rather than admit you're just selfish." "But I love you," she called desperately. No, he said with absolute finality. You love yourself. That's the only person you've ever loved. Amanda stood alone, surrounded by scattered rose petals and crumpled evidence, while guests streamed toward parking lots and photographers kept shooting the most interesting wedding they'd ever covered. In the distance, Patricia was still chasing Greg with the champagne bottle, screaming about wasted decades. Monday morning, HR sent company-wide email at 9:47 a.m. After reviewing recent violations of ethics policy, Amanda Fields and Gregory Harmon have both been terminated, effective immediately. Amanda came to clean out her office, escorted by security. She looked haggard, unwashed hair, wrinkled clothes, dark circles suggesting no sleep. She caught sight of me and stopped dead. You, she whispered loud enough for half the floor to hear. You did this. I looked up from my spreadsheet with practiced innocence. Did what? Someone had to give Ethan that information. She stopped, face cycling through confusion and rage. You were jealous, so pathetic and jealous. Ma'am, security interrupted. We need to keep moving. This isn't over, she hissed. I know it was you. But it was over, completely. Greg's divorce moved forward with unprecedented speed. Patricia hired Baltimore's most vicious divorce attorney, exploiting infidelity clauses in their prenup. Within 2 weeks, Greg had moved into a Canton studio apartment, driving 10-year-old Honda because Patricia got the Mercedes. Amanda's situation was worse. The wedding disaster was covered by Baltimore Magazine and The Sun, turning her into a local symbol of millennial narcissism. Her reputation in the logistics industry was destroyed. No one wanted to hire the woman who'd publicly humiliated her fiancé and planned to fake her own disappearance. The Canadian job offer was rescinded after McKinsey's HR department saw the news coverage. Apparently, hiring someone who'd orchestrated such elaborate deception violated their ethics policies. She'd moved back with parents in Lutherville, taking temp position at Cockeysville car dealership. From business development at major logistics firm with a Canadian escape plan to selling used Hondas while living in her childhood bedroom. Spectacular, complete fall. Her storage unit sat untouched, full of belongings for a life that would never exist. The office felt different after they left. Lighter. Without Greg's sleazy commentary and Amanda's manipulative charm, workplace became more professional. I was promoted to senior financial manager with corner office and 20% salary increase. I never told anyone I was behind the revelation. Never had to. Sometimes I wonder if I should feel guilty. I destroyed careers, ended marriages, ruined what should have been someone's happiest day. But then I remember Amanda's face in the break room, casual cruelty when she called me pathetic and forgettable. I remember her journal entries, treating Ethan's love like an inconvenience, planning to psychologically destroy him for her convenience. All the times she'd taken credit for my work made me feel small and invisible. And I remember Ethan, sweet, devoted Ethan who'd renovated their house and planned perfect proposals. He deserved better. Patricia deserved better too. After 23 years, she deserved a husband who wouldn't betray her. I'm not sorry for what I did. I'm proud of it. Amanda had tried to humiliate me, treating me like I was invisible, someone who could be safely dismissed. She'd counted on my silence, compliance, willingness to swallow humiliation rather than fight back. She'd underestimated the quiet ones, the reliable ones, the people who keep meticulous records and notice every detail. She'd forgotten that sometimes the most dangerous person in the room is the one everyone overlooks. But what do you think? Would you have done the same thing or at least told Ethan? Did I go way too far? Was I just bitter and jealous? Please let me know. 6 months later, I'm still at Meridian as senior financial manager with staff of 3 and reputation for integrity. Amanda is still selling cars and living with parents. Greg is still in his studio apartment, probably wondering what happened to his Dubai vacation. And Ethan? I heard he's dating someone new, a teacher from Annapolis who shares his love of hiking and honest communication. They seem happy, building something real and trustworthy. Sometimes, when working late in my corner office watching sunset over the harbor, I think about that Monday morning when I found out I wasn't invited to Amanda's wedding. It was the best thing that ever happened to me, because it taught me that being overlooked isn't the same as being powerless. Being quiet isn't the same as being weak. And being reliable doesn't mean being disposable. Sometimes the person you dismiss as forgettable is the one who remembers everything. And sometimes that perfect memory can be the most dangerous weapon of all.